The morning began like any other on New Sol. Commander Dewan sat inside the communications center, holding his third cup of coffee while watching the colony slowly wake up. Beyond the windows, the purple sky of Kepler 442b stretched across the horizon, casting a strange but beautiful glow over the peaceful landscape. Farmers were already working in the fields. Children walked toward their schools. Families started another ordinary day. For a moment, it was easy to forget how far away they were from everything they once knew. Day 1 had commanded this colony for 15 years. 12,000 people called New Sol their home now. They had left Earth behind, traveling across the stars to build a future on this distant world. The planet was breathtaking, but it was also painfully isolated. Earth was so far away that even a simple message took weeks to arrive. There were no quick updates, no instant connections, no feeling of being part of something bigger. Most days, Dewan wondered if they truly were the last humans in the universe. Then the door suddenly opened. His daughter, Hee-Jin, rushed inside. She was breathing heavily, her face pale, her eyes filled with fear. "Father, something is wrong," she said. Dewan immediately put down his cup. "What happened?" Hee-Jin stepped closer, trying to steady herself. All communication links to Earth just went offline. For a moment, Dewan didn't move. Then he slowly stood. "What do you mean, offline?" His voice became sharper. "Are they damaged? Is there interference, a delay?" Hee-Jin shook her head. "No." She looked directly at him. "Not delayed, not weakened, gone." The room suddenly felt colder, because everyone on New Sol understood one terrifying truth. A communication failure was never just a communication failure. Not when Earth was the only home humanity had left. "Completely gone," Hee-Jin explained. "I also detected strange energy readings in the upper atmosphere. Something big is up there." Before Day 1 could respond, alarms began screaming throughout the building. Everyone ran to the windows. In the sky above them, massive shapes were appearing. Ships. Enormous ships unlike anything humans had ever built. They looked almost alive with surfaces that glowed and pulsed with strange colors. Young Su, the head of colony security, ran into the room. "Sir, we count at least 60 vessels in orbit. They just appeared out of nowhere." Dewan felt his stomach drop. New Sol had no military ships. They had mining equipment, transport vessels, and farming machines. Nothing that could fight. "Try to contact them," Dewan ordered. "Maybe they are friendly." But the aliens contacted them first. A message came through on all channels. The voice was harsh and spoke broken English. "Humans of this world, you occupy territory claimed by the Velnath hierarchy. You have 1 day to leave this planet. All your buildings and equipment belong to us now. You will take only what you can carry. If you resist, you will die." The message ended. Silence filled the communication center. Then everyone started talking at once one day. Someone shouted, "We have 12,000 people here. Children, elderly, sick people. We cannot evacuate everyone in 1 day." Dewan raised his hand for silence. "Send them a message. Tell them we are peaceful settlers. Tell them we have families here. Ask them for more time to leave safely." Bora, their best communication engineer, sent the message. They waited for a response. Minutes felt like hours. Then the southern sky lit up with a blinding flash. The ground shook. Alarms began screaming again. Reports flooded in from the southern agricultural zone. The agricultural complex was gone. Simply gone. 800 people had been working there. Men, women, and children tending the crops. Now there was nothing but a smoking crater where the complex used to stand. The second message from the Velnath came immediately after. "This is your only warning. Leave now or die." Day 1 looked around at his people. He saw fear in their eyes. He saw anger too. These aliens had just murdered 800 innocent people without even trying to talk first. "We need to evacuate everyone we can," Dewan said quietly. "Get the transport chips ready. Women and children first. Move all the fuel and supplies we can grab." Young Su stepped forward. Sir, what about those of us who stay behind? We have mining equipment. We have explosives. We can fight with mining lasers against warships, someone asked. We cannot win, Yang Su admitted, but we can make them pay for every meter of ground they take. Maybe that will buy time for the evacuation. Dewan nodded slowly. He knew Yang Su was right. Some of them would have to stay and fight. It was the only way to save anyone. Boris spoke up. Commander, I think I can send one message to Earth. It will burn out our entire communication system, but we can tell them what happened. How long until the message reaches Earth? Dwan asked. 6 days at faster than light speed, Boris said. Then it would take Earth at least 2 weeks to send help, maybe longer. Day 1 did the math in his head. They did not have 2 weeks. They probably did not have 2 days, but he had to try. Do it, he ordered. Send the message. Tell Earth everything. Bora worked quickly. She connected the communication beacon directly to the colony's fusion reactor. The amount of power needed would destroy the system, but it would send the message farther and faster than anything they had ever attempted. Daewon recorded the message himself. He sat in front of the camera, his uniform dirty from rushing around the colony. Behind him, through the windows, smoke rose from where the agricultural complex had been. This is Commander Day 1 of the new Sol colony on Kepler 442b. He began, "We are under attack by an alien force calling themselves the Velnath Hierarchy. They gave us 1 day to evacuate 12,000 people. When we asked for more time, they destroyed our agricultural complex. 800 people died in seconds." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "We are evacuating everyone we can, but most of us will not make it off this planet. We will fight as long as we can. We will protect our people as long as we are able." Day 1 looked directly at the camera. "I am sending our exact coordinates. I am sending all the data we collected on these aliens. And I am asking you to remember. Remember what they took from us. Remember our families. Remember New Soul." He ended the message with 5 simple words. Remember what they took. Bora launched the signal. The fusion reactor screamed as it pumped all its power into the communication beacon. The beacon glowed brighter and brighter. Then it exploded in a shower of sparks, but the message was away, racing through space toward Earth. Day 1 looked out at his colony. Transport ships were taking off, carrying as many people as they could hold. He had managed to evacuate maybe 500 people. That left over 11,000 still on the planet. Young Su appeared beside him. "We have about 6,000 people willing to fight," Young Su reported. "We are moving everyone into the underground mining tunnels. We have enough food for maybe 3 days. We have mining lasers, explosives, and a lot of anger. Will it be enough?" Daewon asked. "No," Young Su said honestly, "but we will make them regret coming here. Every Vilnath soldier who sets foot on our world will pay a price." Heejin joined them. She had been working in her laboratory. "I studied the energy signatures from their ships." She said, "I think I know something about their biology. They come from a world very different from Earth. A safer world, a cleaner world. I think I can use that against them." "What do you need?" Day 1 asked. "Access to the medical supplies, time to work, and a little bit of luck." Above them, the Velnath ships began descending through the atmosphere. Their landing craft filled the sky like a swarm of insects. Young Su picked up his rifle. "Time to show these aliens what humans do when you threaten our families." The people of New Sol descended into the mining tunnels. Above them, alien soldiers landed on their world. The battle for survival had begun, and somewhere in space, racing toward Earth at impossible speeds, was a desperate message, a call for help that would soon become a call for vengeance. 6 days after the message left New Sol, it arrived at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station on the Moon. The night shift officer was drinking coffee when every alarm in the facility started screaming at once. Lieutenant Park stared at her screen in confusion. The message had come through on emergency military channels. It had bypassed every normal communication system. Whoever sent this had used enough power to light up half a planet. She opened the message and watched in growing horror. Commander Daewon's face filled her screen. He looked exhausted and dirty. Behind him, she could see smoke rising into an alien sky. His voice was calm, but she could hear the fear underneath. When the message ended with those 5 words, Lieutenant Park sat frozen. Remember what they took. She had a cousin on New Sol, a young woman named Hei Jin, who studied alien plants and animals. Her hands shook as she forwarded the message to Earth Defense Command. Within minutes, her communicator exploded with incoming calls. Within an hour, every news channel on Earth was showing the message. Within 6 hours, riots had broken out in 3 major cities. Admiral Taiyang watched the message for the 7th time. He was 60 years old and had spent 40 of those years in military service. He had fought in the resource wars. He had seen death and destruction. But this was different. This was cold-blooded murder of civilians. His aide entered the office. "Sir, the Parliament is meeting in emergency session. They want your assessment." Taiyang stood up. He put on his uniform jacket and checked his appearance in the mirror. Then he walked to Parliament, where 300 representatives were shouting at each other. Representative Sunhee was speaking. "We must respond immediately. 12,000 of our people are dying while we debate. But we know nothing about these aliens." Another representative argued, "What if they have hundreds of ships? What if we start a war we cannot win?" "They already started the war," Sunhee shouted back. "They murdered 800 people in the first attack. How many more will die while we talk?" The room erupted into chaos. Everyone was shouting. Admiral Taiyang walked to the center podium and simply stood there. Gradually, the room fell silent. "You asked for my military assessment," Taiyang said quietly. "Here it is. By the time our ships reach New Sol, the colony will most likely be gone. We are at least 12 days away, even at maximum speed. The colonist cannot hold out that long against a military force." He paused. "However, we can ensure that whoever destroyed New Sol understands their mistake. We can make certain that no alien force ever again believes they can murder human civilians without consequence." "You are talking about revenge, not rescue," someone said. "I am talking about survival," Taiyang replied. "Right now, every alien species in the galaxy is watching to see what we do. If we do nothing, we tell them that humans are easy targets. If we respond with force, we tell them that attacking humans comes with a terrible price." Representative Sunhee stood up. "I call for an immediate vote. All in favor of military action to defend New Sol and punish those responsible." The vote was not even close. 342 representatives voted yes. Only 3 voted no. Earth was going to war. Admiral Taiyang moved fast. Within hours, mobilization orders went out to every military base on Earth and throughout the solar system. The defense fleet had been humanity's insurance policy for 50 years. Now it was time to use it. 15 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, 100 support vessels, thousands of smaller fighters and bombers. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Taiyang personally selected his commanders. He chose Captain Minu to lead the vanguard. Minu was young for a captain, but he had earned his reputation in border skirmishes with pirates. He was ruthless, efficient, and absolutely loyal. "Captain Minu, you will command the Indomitable." Taiyang said, "Your mission is simple. Reach New Sol, destroy the enemy fleet, show no mercy." Minu saluted. "It will be done, sir." That night, Taiyang called a secret meeting with his senior officers. Only his most trusted commanders attended. He locked the door and activated the security screens. "What I am about to tell you is classified at the highest level," he began. "Most people think humans are just another species. Smart, sure, good with technology, but nothing special." He pulled up a hologram showing Earth. "This is a death world. Do you know what that means? It means our planet has spent billions of years trying to kill everything that lives on it. Gravity twice as strong as most habitable worlds. Thousands of diseases, predators at every level, weather that can destroy entire cities. Humans survived all of that." Taiyang continued. "We are not explorers who happen to develop space travel. We are survivors of a world that made us into weapons. We are predators with technology. And these aliens just made the mistake of attacking our families." He looked around the room at his officers. "We have studied the message from New Sol. We have analyzed the alien ships. They are used to fighting other peaceful species. They fight with rules. They fight with honor. They expect surrender. We will give them none of that." "What are your orders, sir?" Captain Minu asked. "Total destruction," Tai Yang said simply. "You will treat this like hunting dangerous animals. Use every advantage. Show no mercy. Make them afraid." The officers filed out quietly. Each of them understood what was being asked. They were not going to New Sol as rescuers. They were going as avengers. 3 days later, the fleet was ready. Every ship had been loaded with weapons and supplies. Every crew member had been briefed on the mission. The entire solar system watched as the fleet assembled in Earth orbit. Admiral Tai Yang broadcast one final message before departure. It was transmitted to every human colony, every ship, every station. "People of Earth and all human colonies," he began, "today we depart for New Sol. We go not with hope of rescue. We go knowing that we are probably too late to save those brave people. But we go to send a message that will echo throughout the galaxy. Humans protect their own. Attack our families and you will face our full fury. Show no mercy to our people and we will show you what a death world species can do when you make us angry. We do not seek war. We do not want to become conquerors. But we will never allow our people to be slaughtered without consequence. Remember New Sol. Remember what they took. And remember that humanity always avenges its own." The transmission ended on every human world. In every human city, people stopped what they were doing. Some cried, some prayed, some simply watched the sky. The fleet engaged its faster-than-light drives. One by one, the massive ships disappeared in flashes of blue light. Within minutes, the entire fleet was gone, racing through space toward a distant colony that might already be destroyed. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Minweed the tactical displays. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Ji-Wan, was the youngest person to ever graduate top of her academy class. She had already planned 17 different attack strategies. "Captain, I recommend we drop out of FTL at the edge of the system," Ji-Wan said. "If we surprise them, we can destroy half their fleet before they even know we are there." "Good," Minu replied. "Prepare all weapons. Make sure every railgun is loaded with tungsten rounds. I want maximum damage on the first strike." "Sir, what if they try to surrender?" Ji-Wan asked. Minu looked at her coldly. "They murdered 800 farmers as a warning. They gave our people 1 day to evacuate 12,000 civilians. Do you think they would have accepted our surrender?" Ji-Wan shook her head. "No, sir. Then we will give them the same mercy they showed our colonists." None. The fleet traveled through space at speeds that bent physics. 12 days from Earth to New Sol. 12 days for the Velnath to finish whatever they were doing. 12 days for any surviving colonists to hold out. Across the ship, soldiers checked their weapons. Engineers tested the railguns one more time. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Everyone knew what was coming. And in the captain's quarters, Minwoo looked at a photo of his family, his wife, his 2 children, safe on Earth. He thought about the families on New Sol, who would never be safe again. The Velnut had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked a death world species. Now they would learn why that was the last mistake any civilization should ever make. The Velnut soldiers entered the colony on the 3rd day. They expected quick victory. Instead, they found empty buildings and silent streets. The humans had disappeared underground. Commander Dewan watched from the mining tunnels through hidden cameras. Thousands of Relnath soldiers spread through the colony, searching for humans to capture. They moved in tight formations following what must have been their standard military procedure. "They fight like they are on parade," Young Su muttered. "They have never fought an enemy that does not follow rules." Duan nodded. "Then let us teach them a lesson. Spring the first trap." Young Su pressed a button. Throughout the colony, explosives hidden in buildings detonated simultaneously. The Velnath had been using the buildings as shelter from the wind. Suddenly, dozens of those buildings collapsed on top of them. Screams echoed across the colony. Before the Velnath could recover, Young Su security teams emerged from hidden tunnels. They fired mining lasers and threw mining explosives. Then they disappeared back underground before the aliens could return fire. The Vilnoth tried to follow them into the tunnels. That was an even bigger mistake. The tunnels were designed by humans who had spent years mining in them. Every turn, every junction, every shaft was a potential ambush point. Young Su had placed his fighters at carefully chosen positions. They would wait in darkness, completely silent. When Vilnot soldiers came around a corner, the humans would attack with everything they had. Then they would retreat deeper into the tunnels, leading the aliens into more traps. By the end of the first day of ground combat, 300 Velnath soldiers were dead. The humans had lost 37 fighters. The ratio shocked the Velnath commanders. But Haijun's weapon was even more effective. She had spent 2 days preparing her biological trap. She knew from studying the alien energy signatures that the Velnut came from a very different kind of world. Their planet had low gravity, clean air, no dangerous diseases. Earth was nothing like that. Earth was a nightmare world where diseases evolved to attack every living thing. Humans had spent millions of years developing immunity to thousands of bacteria and viruses. Their bodies fought off infections every single day without them even knowing. Heijin had taken common human bacteria, things that might give a human a mild cold or a stomachache. She had cultivated them in her laboratory. Then she had released them into the colony's air circulation system. The Velnath breathed in the bacteria. Within hours, they began to get sick. Within a day, they began to die. Their immune systems had never encountered anything like Earth diseases. They had no defense. The Velnath commanders panicked. They sent urgent messages to their ships in orbit. The humans are using biological weapons. We are dying from their diseases. The truth was worse. Humans were not using weapons. They were just breathing. Every human on the planet carried bacteria that were deadly to the Varanath. The aliens could not even touch a human without risking infection. In the command center deep underground, Daewon received the reports with mixed feelings. They were winning. Against impossible odds, the colonists were actually winning the ground war. But it came at a cost. Food supplies were running low. Medical supplies were almost gone. The injured were being treated in makeshift hospitals without proper equipment. People were exhausted, running on fear and anger. Bora approached him. "Commander, I am picking up strange readings from orbit. The Vilnath ships are repositioning." "What kind of repositioning?" Daewon asked. "They are moving into bombardment formation. I think they are preparing to destroy the colony from orbit." Daewon felt his blood run cold. If the Velnut bombarded the planet from space, all their guerrilla tactics would mean nothing. They would all die buried in the tunnels. Why have they not done that already? Young Su asked. "I think their doctrine forbids it," Haijin said. "They claimed this world. They probably have rules about not destroying planets they intend to use. But we are killing so many of their soldiers that they might break their own rules," Daewon said quietly. That night, Daewon barely slept. He walked through the tunnels looking at his people. Families huddled together. Children trying to sleep on cold stone. Wounded soldiers being cared for by exhausted medical staff. They had survived 6 days. 6 days of constant fighting. 6 days of fear and death. But they were still alive, still fighting. On the 7th day, Bora ran into the command center with her face flushed with excitement. "Commander, I am detecting massive quantum fluctuations at the edge of the star system." "What does that mean?" Daewon asked. "Ships are arriving, big ships, and the quantum signature matches human faster than light drives." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Young Su let out a whoop of joy. Around the command center, people started crying and hugging each other. "Can you contact them?" Tan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "We destroyed our communication system, sending the message to Earth," Bora said. "But I might be able to jury-rig something from spare parts. Give me an hour." Bora worked like a woman possessed. She pulled apart every piece of electronic equipment she could find. She connected things that were never meant to be connected. After 40 minutes, she had built something that might work. "It is not powerful," she warned, "but if they are listening, they might hear us." She broadcast on all military frequencies. "This is New Sol Colony. If anyone is listening, we are still here. We are still fighting." They waited. Hours passed with no response. Maybe the human fleet had not heard them. Maybe it was not even a human fleet. Maybe Bora had been wrong about the quantum signature. Then 12 hours after her first transmission, a response came through. It was a single word in Korean, transmitted on military encryption. Soon, That one word spread through the tunnels like fire. Help was coming. They just had to survive a little longer. The Velnath commanders had also detected the approaching fleet. Hierarch, the leader of the Velnath forces, studied the sensor readings with confusion. "How many ships?" he asked his tactical officer. "We count at least 150 vessels." Hierarcha. 15 are massive capital ships, much larger than our dreadnoughts. Bethorn laughed. The humans send a fleet to rescue one small colony. They truly are sentimental creatures. No matter. We have 60 warships. We are veterans of 100 campaigns. These humans are untested in real combat. "Should we attempt communication?" his officer asked. "No. Send half our fleet to intercept them. We will teach them that the Velnath hierarchy does not surrender territory, not even to larger forces." In the tunnels of New Seoul, young Su gave orders to his fighters. "We hold for 3 more days. That is all. 3 more days and the fleet will be here. We have come this far. We can make it 3 more days." A young fighter barely 20 years old raised her hand. "Sir, what if the Velnath fleet defeats our ships? What if help does not come?" Young Su looked at her seriously. "Then we die fighting." "But I do not think that will happen. Do you know why?" The girl shook her head. "Because the Velnath do not understand what they are facing. They think they are fighting colonists and farmers. They do not realize they are fighting a death world species. They killed our families. They threatened our children. And now they are about to learn the worst lesson any alien can learn." "What lesson?" the girl asked. Young Su smiled grimly. "Never make humans angry." Above them in the cold darkness of space, the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the star system. 155 warships. The largest military force humanity had ever assembled. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Minwoo looked at the tactical display showing the Velnath fleet. "All ships," he broadcast on the command channel. "Weapons free. Show them what a death world species can do." The battle for New Seoul was about to begin. The Velnath expected a normal battle, ship against ship, honorable combat. They had fought dozens of species and always won using the same tactics. They did not realize they were about to face something completely different. The human fleet did not wait for communication. They did not ask for terms. They simply opened fire. Railguns fired from every human ship simultaneously. Thousands of tungsten rods, each the size of a telephone pole, accelerated to incredible speeds. They traveled so fast that they glowed white-hot from the friction with space dust. The Velnath ships had energy shields designed to deflect laser weapons and plasma bolts. But nobody in the galaxy used simple kinetic weapons anymore. They were considered primitive, inefficient. The tungsten rods punched through the Relnut shields like they were made of paper. The first volley destroyed 12 ships instantly, just gone. The explosions lit up the darkness of space like small suns. On his flagship, Hierarch stared at his tactical display in shock. 12 ships destroyed in the first attack. How is this possible? The humans are using kinetic weapons. Hierarcha, his tactical officer reported. Our shields cannot stop solid matter traveling at those speeds. Return fire. Destroy them. The Velnath ships fired their energy weapons. Beautiful beams of focused plasma streak across space. They hit the human ships and dissipated harmlessly across thick armor plating. The humans had designed their ships to absorb energy attacks. The second human volley destroyed 8 more of Relnath's ships. Then the human fighters swarmed forward. Small, fast ships launched from the bigger vessels like insects from a nest. They moved in coordinated groups, attacking from multiple angles at once. Lieutenant Jiwon watched the battle unfold from the Indomitable's bridge. Her tactical plan was working perfectly. The Velnath were trying to fight like they always fought. One ship targeting one ship. Honor combat. Individual duels. The humans fought like wolves. They attacked in packs. 5 human ships would target one Velnath vessel, overwhelming it from all sides. When that ship was destroyed, they would immediately shift to the next target. No honor, no fairness, just brutal efficiency. "They are breaking formation," Jiwon reported to Captain Minwoo. "The Velnath are panicking." "Good," Minwoo replied coldly. "Deploy the proximity mines in their retreat path." Human fighters dropped thousands of small mines as they flew. The mines looked harmless. They just floated in space, waiting. When Verlnath ships tried to retreat, they flew right into the minefields. The explosions ripped through their hulls. 10 minutes into the battle, 20 Verlnath ships were destroyed. The humans had not lost a single vessel. This was not a battle. It was a slaughter. Hierarch finally understood his mistake. These were not colonists with a lucky fleet. These were predators who had been building weapons for centuries. These were creatures from a world so dangerous that they had evolved to fight and kill. He opened a communication channel. Human fleet, this is Hierarch of the Verlnath hierarchy. I request negotiation under the Galactic Accords. I offer honorable surrender, and Admiral Taiyang cut him off. His voice was broadcast on all channels, including to the Verlnath fleet and to the colonists on New Sol below. You sought no accords when you murdered our farmers. You wanted no negotiation when you gave our people 1 day to evacuate 12,000 civilians. You showed no mercy when you attacked a peaceful colony. Taiyang paused. There will be no mercy. There will be no quarter. There will be no negotiation. There will only be justice, and justice for humanity is absolute. The transmission ended. The human fleet continued its attack with even greater intensity. In the tunnels of New Sol, the colonists listened to the broadcast. Many were crying, some were cheering. Daewon just closed his eyes and whispered a prayer of thanks. As the orbital battle raged, Commander Subin led a special forces team down to the planet's surface. Their dropship screamed through the atmosphere, dodging debris from destroyed Verlnath vessels. Sububin was a veteran of hostile environment operations. She had fought on ice worlds and lava planets. She had rescued miners from collapsed asteroids and diplomats from pirate bases. But this mission was personal. These were her people, fellow humans who had fought impossible odds. The dropships landed near the last known entrance to the mining tunnels. Subin and her team moved quickly. They encountered small groups of Relnut soldiers who were trying to retreat to their landing craft. The special forces teams eliminated them efficiently. No talking, no prisoners, just like Admiral Taiyang had ordered. Subin reached the tunnel entrance and activated her communicator. New Sol Colony. This is Commander Subin of Earth Defense Marines. If you can hear this, we are at the western tunnel entrance. Respond if you are receiving. For a moment, nothing. Then a crackling response came through. Commander Subin, this is Commander Dayan. We are receiving you. We are alive. We are still here. Subin felt tears in her eyes. She had not cried during the entire 12-day journey from Earth. But hearing Day One's voice, hearing that they had survived, broke something inside her. Sir, we are coming to get you. Hold your position. Her team descended into the tunnels. They found the colonists in the deepest sections exhausted, dirty, wounded, but alive. 7,000 people had survived the 9-day siege. Daewon stood to meet Sububin. He was barely able to stand. His uniform was torn and bloody, but he saluted with perfect military precision. Commander Daewon reporting. New Sol Colony still operational. Subin returned the salute. Then she did something that was not in military protocol. She hugged him. You held out, she said quietly. Against everything you held out. We knew you would come, Daewon replied. We just had to survive long enough. Young Su approached them. Commander Subin, we have wounded that need immediate medical attention. We have civilians who have not eaten properly in 3 days. And we have about 2,000 Verlnath soldiers still alive on the surface, trapped between your forces and ours. What do you want to do with the Verlnath soldiers? Subin asked. Young Su looked at Dwan. The colony commander thought for a long moment. Take them prisoner, Dwan said finally. We are not like them. We do not murder soldiers who surrender. In orbit, the battle was ending. Of the 60 Verlnath ships that had been in the system, only 12 remained. They were trapped between the planet and the human fleet. Hierarch's flagship was surrounded by 5 human dreadnoughts. Vilar tried one last time. Please, I was following orders. My superiors commanded me to take this world. I am a soldier like you. Show mercy to my crew. Admiral Taiyang listened to the plea. He thought about the 800 farmers who had been vaporized as a demonstration. He thought about the 5,000 colonists who had died during the siege. He thought about the message Dewan had sent. Remember what they took. Fire, Taiyang ordered. The 5 dreadnoughts fired simultaneously. Felth's flagship exploded in a ball of white light. The remaining Velnath ships, seeing their commander dead, tried to flee. None of them made it out of the system. When the battle was over, Captain Minu looked at his tactical officer. "Final count?" he asked. "All 60 Relath vessels destroyed," Jiwan reported. "We lost 3 cruisers and 8 support ships. Total human casualties, 412 dead, 1,200 wounded." Minu nodded slowly. 412 lives, each one precious, each one a son or daughter, husband or wife. But they had avenged thousands. They had shown the galaxy what happened when you attacked humans. Admiral Tai Yang broadcast to the fleet, and to the colonists below. "New Sol Colony. This is Admiral Tai Yang. The enemy fleet has been destroyed. The planet is secure. You're safe now. Welcome back to the human family." In the tunnels, the colonists heard the message and erupted in cheers. People hugged each other. Some collapsed from relief. Children who had been silent and terrified for days began to cry. But the celebration was bittersweet. 5,000 empty seats at dinner tables. 5,000 graves to dig. 5,000 families who would never be whole again. Daewon stood at the tunnel entrance, looking up at the sky. The human fleet was visible as bright stars moving across the heavens. He thought about his message. Remember what they took. The galaxy would remember. Every species that had heard the battle would remember. Humanity had announced itself not as explorers or traders, but as protectors, as avengers, as Deathworlders who would go to war for their own, and they would never ever forget. The news of what happened at New Sol spread across the galaxy. Be faster than light itself. Every species with faster-than-light communication heard the story. A peaceful human colony attacked. 800 civilians murdered, then complete destruction of an entire Velnath fleet. The Galactic Council met an emergency session on the neutral world of Axis. Prime representatives from 200 civilizations filled the council chamber. Most of them had never heard of humans before. Now they could not stop talking about them. One delegate spoke in amazement. The humans had destroyed 60 warships in less than 2 hours. The Velnath hierarchy had conquered 15 civilizations. How did these newcomers defeat them so easily? Another delegate expressed concern. The humans had refused negotiation. They had refused surrender. They had simply destroyed everything. This was not how civilized species conducted warfare. Ambassador of the Talshar Confederation stood to speak. The Talshar were one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had seen empires rise and fall. When Velkara spoke, the entire council listened. Velkara explained that the humans had done exactly what they should have done. The Velnath had attacked a civilian colony without provocation. They had murdered hundreds of innocents. The humans had responded with force to ensure it never happened again. Balara continued. They had studied the humans. They came from what they called a death world. Their planet was extraordinarily hostile. High gravity, deadly diseases, dangerous predators. They had evolved to survive conditions that would kill most galactic species in ours. They were survivors, and survivors did not show mercy to those who threatened their families. The council chamber fell silent. Most species evolved on gentle planets, stable climates, few diseases, no major predators. The idea of a world that actively tried to kill its inhabitants was terrifying. In the home territory of the Velnath hierarchy, panic spread among the leadership. Hierarcha Prime Solv called an emergency meeting of all high commanders. Svath spoke quietly about their losses. An entire expeditionary fleet was gone. 60 ships, 40,000 soldiers, all destroyed, and these humans claimed they had used only a small portion of their military. One commander asked if they should prepare defenses. Solvith said no firmly. They would sue for peace immediately. The other commanders gasped. The Vilth hierarchy had never sued for peace. They were conquerors. They never apologized. Someone protested that other species would see them as weak. Svath replied that it was better to be seen as weak than to be destroyed. He had reviewed the battle data. The humans had not just defeated them, they had humiliated them. Their tactics were superior. Their weapons were more effective. If they continued this conflict, the humans would come to their home world. Solve sent Ambassador Krellin to negotiate. Kelvin was a skilled diplomat who had negotiated dozens of treaties, but when he arrived at the human fleet, he was not prepared for what he found. Representative Sunhee met him aboard a neutral station. She was small, barely reaching his chest, but when she looked at him, Krellin felt like he was being examined by a predator. Sunhee stated the human terms clearly. The Velnath hierarchy would issue a formal apology. They would pay reparations. They would withdraw from human space and they would surrender 20 officers to stand trial for war crimes. Krell tried to hide his shock. War crimes trials. No civilization had ever demanded such a thing from the Velnath. Krellin tried to negotiate. Surely they could discuss these terms. The surrender of officers was particularly difficult. Sunhee interrupted. She called it justice. The Velnath had killed 800 farmers. They had given 12,000 civilians one day to evacuate. Their officers had committed atrocities. They would face justice. These terms were not negotiable. Krellin looked at the small human woman. He wanted to argue, but then he remembered the battle reports. 60 ships destroyed in less than 2 hours. He did not want to see what the humans would do if negotiations failed. He said he would take the terms to his superiors. On New Sol, reconstruction had begun. The human fleet had brought supplies, engineers, and medical personnel. The wounded were being treated in proper hospitals. The dead were being buried with full honors. Commander Dewan walked through the colony with Admiral Tai Yang. They stopped at the crater where the agricultural complex had been. Dewan spoke quietly about the 800 people who died there. Good people, families. They were just farming. They never hurt anyone. Dewan asked a difficult question. Did they do the right thing? They had destroyed an entire fleet. 40,000 soldiers dead. Was that justice or revenge? Tai Yang thought for a long moment before answering. It was both, he said, justice and revenge, but also a message. The galaxy needed to understand that humans protected their own, that there were consequences for attacking civilians. Daewon admitted that he woke up at night thinking about those 40,000 Velnath soldiers. Most were probably just following orders. Tae-young said that was what made Daewon human. He could kill when necessary, but still felt the weight of it. The day they stopped feeling guilty was the day they became monsters. Hai-jin joined them. She had been working with medical teams. She told them they should see what she found. She led them to her laboratory. On a computer screen, she displayed data about Velnath biology. The Velnath came from a planet with almost no diseases. Their world was sterile compared to Earth. That was why the bacteria she released killed so many of them. They had no natural immunity. Daewon asked if she was saying humans were naturally more dangerous. Hygiene replied that Earth had prepared humans for war in ways most species could not imagine. They carried weapons in their blood. They had been fighting for survival since before they could think. The Vilnoth never had to do that. Neither had most galactic civilizations. Taeyang studied the data carefully. This changed everything. Humans were not just technologically advanced, they were biologically dangerous. The galaxy needed to understand this. He returned to his flagship and prepared a broadcast. This message would go to every civilization in the galaxy. It would define humanity's place among the stars. Taeyang addressed the galaxy. He introduced himself and spoke about the battle at New Sol. Some called humans warmongers. Some called them monsters. He wanted to tell them who humans really were. Humans were survivors of a world that tried to kill them for billions of years. They were children of a planet with twice normal gravity, diseases that evolved faster than cures, and predators at every level. They did not choose to be warriors. Their world made them warriors. It was adapt or die. They adapted. They came to the stars seeking peace. They established colonies to build new homes. They approached others with friendship. But when someone attacked their families and murdered their children, they would discover what a Deathworld species could do when pushed too far. Humans were not conquerors. They were not empire builders, but they were protectors. They protected their own with absolute commitment. This was not a threat. This was a promise. The message ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched and understood. Humanity had announced itself not as explorers, but as something far more dangerous. They were survivors. They were predators. They were a force that demanded respect on Earth. Representative Sun He received a message from Ambassador Krellin. The Velnut had agreed to all terms. They would apologize. They would pay reparations. They would surrender officers for trial. They had no choice. The Talshar Confederation sent a separate message. They invited humanity to join the Galactic Council as full members. They offered to help mediate relationships with other species. They recognized that the galaxy needed what humans could provide: protection, strength, the willingness to fight when fighting was necessary. Sun He read both messages and smiled. Humanity had paid a terrible price. 5,000 dead at New Sol, 412 in the fleet battle, but they had gained something invaluable: respect, fear, security. No one would attack human colonies again, not after New Sol, not after seeing what happened to those who tried. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Deathworlders make terrible enemies, and humanity, the children of Earth, were the most dangerous Deathworlders of all.